Hello YouTube, Mr. Miz here, down at the tracks waiting for a train. And in the interim, I wanted to talk a little bit about former President Jimmy Carter. He passed away not too long ago, and we'll be having his funeral today. And as a student of history and also as a rail fan, Carter deserves to be remembered. Not even going to try and sugarcoat it to most people. Carter was one of the worst presidents in U.S. history, and probably one of the worst presidents of their lifetimes. I was born in November of 1980, so like the first 2 months of my life sort of technically coincided with the last 2 months of Carter's presidency. So while technically I was alive for part of it, I was, barely even aware of my own existence, if aware of my own existence back then. So I can't really speak firsthand to what it was like to live under him. What I can say is, and this should put things into perspective, right about now, the prime mortgage rate is like 6.8, somewhere in there percent. My dad bought a house under Carter's administration. He had near perfect credit and paid 17% interest, and that was a good rate. So that can give you some perspective on, sort of just how bad things got with Carter. Having said that, he does, I think, sort of get a lot of flack and a lot of criticism for things that were not his fault. And there's a lot of good that he did during his presidency that really sort of didn't come to fruition until after he was out of office. And a lot of it contributed mightily to the success of Ronald Reagan's presidency. Something else that should be mentioned, I'll pause for a sec to see this dump truck. And there he goes. The joy of recording live video. I don't know, with the weather being the way it is right now, I wasn't really expecting too much in the way of traffic. So, of course, that happened. But as I was saying, Carter really, a lot of the stuff that he did during his presidency really helped the United States in the long run. It didn't help him politically because it didn't happen until really after he was gone. But Carter's post-presidency is something that's really worth looking at, and what the man really probably deserves to be remembered for. He generally stayed out of politics once he was out of office. He did a lot of work with groups like Habitat for Humanity, and it wasn't something where he just showed up for, half an hour for a photo op and, just left. He did the work. He also, through his foundation, was instrumental in possibly the second eradication of a disease in human history. In this case, the guinea worm. It's a very nasty parasitic worm, and his foundation was very instrumental in basically eradicating it. It's probably not completely gone, but it's very close. They went from tens of thousands of cases a year down to I think 10 or 15. And certainly he deserves a lot of credit for that. This is a man who helped a lot of people that he would never meet, who would never be able to express their gratitude to him, and he did it out of what seems to me genuinely to be sheerly the goodness of his own heart. As a rail fan as well, Carter deserves to be remembered. Carter signed into law the Staggers Act, which deregulated the railroads and basically allowed them to become competitive again. Prior to the Staggers Act, you had the federal government setting rates and all other kinds of overregulation of the railroading industry that in large part contributed to a lot of the downfall of a lot of the railroads. It forced a lot of the mergers that we had following World War II up through into the 70s. And the Staggers Act really changed all that. It's the most significant piece of railroad-related legislation in the last 50 years. And while you could certainly say that, it's been 50 years, and perhaps with some of the derailments and other issues we've been seeing lately, it's time to maybe take a second look at how the law relates to railroading. Certainly, Carter was very influential in saving the railroading industry in this country. And for that, I'm very grateful as a rail fan. So rest in peace to Jimmy Carter. A great man. Maybe not the best president of all time, but certainly not the worst of my lifetime, that's for damn sure. Even having been alive for 2 months of his presidency, he was not the worst. So rest in peace and Godspeed, Jimmy Carter.